complete for the touchdown. Chrebet, the rookie from Boomer. He grew up in Garfield, New Jersey, 10 minutes from Giant Stadium.
But short of a first down, Chrebet was able to work free. What a move by Wayne Chrebet.
Absolutely unbelievable. You're talking about a kid who is just all heart.
Welcome to the Underdog Jets Podcast with Wayne Chrebet and Robby Sabo. That's right, Jets fans. This is the Underdog Jets Podcast, the most unique podcast in the Jets space because of a couple of reasons. Number one, the host, Wayne Chrebet, number 80, whose career and personality fits this name of the podcast perfectly. And number two, because we have a former Jet whose perspective is going to allow us to dig through history and relive some of those great moments from the past. You know, Monday Night Miracle, Parcells, the regime from 98 to 97, 98, 99, all that stuff. Grow in 2000, Herm Edwards. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be the most unique Jets podcast out there. And number 80, Wayne Chrebet, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Good to be joining you, Robby.
I appreciate it. And I'll tell you what, and I said this on the call earlier, you are other than Joe Namath, who's, you know, it's been some decades now, you probably are the second most beloved Jet of all time. You're going to chuckle, right? You're going to be modest.
Right.
You're going to be modest, but it's legit. You probably are that guy.
Yeah, it's weird, you know, from when I came out, people considered me everyman, you know, and I'd see people coming out of, you know, Mercedes-Benzes wearing my jersey and guys rolling up on Harleys in my jersey, black, white, you know, didn't matter what people were. They just kind of took to me, male, female, whatever it is. And I just knew that right from then and there, you know, I had a responsibility to represent them, you know, the everyman and guys like that, the underdogs, and people took to me because of it. But don't be mistaken, man. I always thought about the fans when I was out there. That's why I fought for the extra inch, the extra yard, because I knew they were cheering for me. And you know what? I never got booed in my whole career. And I'm so grateful that I still have that connection with the fans.
It's such a unique story. It really is. I mean, Garfield, New Jersey, walk on, UDFA. I mean, you can't write a Hollywood script like that. I mean, honestly, it's incredible. And I think the biggest thing is people related to you. They saw someone they can relate to. New Jersey, New York, Northern New Jersey, guys who are workmanlike, who would do anything to get the job done. I think that was the number one thing. They could fully relate. And that was what got you over that hump and put you in this class where I call you the second most beloved. Actually, you might be the most beloved now that it's 2021, but we'll give it to old Joe, of course.
It's nice to hear. You know, I tell people I've been retired like 15 years now. You know, this past summer, you know, it's the anniversary of my 25 years ago, my first training camp. But like I said, just to still feel that, I understood what it was like to be in those stands, you know, scalping tickets on Route 17 and sitting in like row triple Z rooting for the Jets and the Giants. So I understood what people wanted to see. You know what I mean? So like just to have that connection with them was great. You know, if I'm considered one of the most beloved, you know, I got a lot to give back. I got a lot of thanks to give to family, friends, you know, teammates, coaches. You know, I know we're going to talk about some of them, but that's why I'm doing podcasts. You know, get a chance to give back. And like you said, the big thing is giving my perspective, you know, on some of the things that went down during my career and obviously my perspective of what's going on in the future of this team.
Yeah. And, you know, as a Jets fan, you can't be more excited than right now because there's a different feel in the atmosphere. There are true football people in the building. Now, Obviously it's the NFL. So yeah, there's football people everywhere. But when you feel the difference, and I felt it at rookie minicamp, when you feel the difference, it's noticeable. And it's the example of a phone call. Like when Zach Wilson got drafted, the first thing Robert Saleh told him was, "Hey, kid, Don't feel the pressure. Don't feel like you have to lift us. We're, as an organization, going to lift you. And to hear something like that is so refreshing. The job of a head coach isn't just X's and O's. It's to connect. It's to get the most out of a player, having Parcells there with you. And Salah and the coaching staff, Joe Douglas, he's been here for a little bit now, but you got to give him at least 2 drafts. And this is his 2nd draft. And what he's done with the offensive line, not drafting a first-round offensive lineman since 2006, not having an edge rusher since John Abraham, really, a legit scary edge rusher. The fact that he might have solved those 2 things is huge. So what do you think about the new regime overall?
I think they're doing a great job. I loved what Joe Douglas did last year. Obviously, they gave him, I believe it was a 6-year contract. I'm not saying it's going to take 6 years, but you can't just have a guy come in for 1 or 2 drafts and expect everything to turn around. The thing he did last year, a lot of 1-year deals to these guys to see who panned out. It's tough. You could see a guy who comes in, wants to make his mark, and he got all that salary cap money. And what's the natural thing to do is to start spending on household names, appeasing the fans and doing things like that. But he did it smart, 1-year deals, a couple 3-year deals to guys that maybe will still be around. Some of those guys panned out, and they re-sign them, some didn't, and they move on. But like I said, you see what happened this year in the first day free agency. The Patriots, they got everybody, all these household names, and we got guys there. If you look at it, they're not household names, but they're great players, great locker room guys. So they're really surrounding these young players with some good veterans, and they did a great job in the draft as well.
Yeah, the Pats, they went crazy this offseason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the media, I heard some guys trying to say this is what they do sometimes. Not really. I mean, to finish number 1 by a large margin with guaranteed money and overall money, that's not like the Pats. Tracing it back, they haven't done that, I don't think, ever in the Belichick era, and definitely not in the last 10 years. So it's interesting what they do there. We remember Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley 2 off seasons ago.
Right.
You want it to work out, but when you sign not all positions are equal. When you sign a running back without an offensive line, it's tough sledding. It's just tough sledding. You as a receiver, the offensive line raises the production ceiling of everyone else on that offense. Same with the pass rush, with the defense. But yeah, NFL draft, Douglas's 2nd draft is complete. Zach Wilson is the guy. And the biggest thing this offseason, Jets fans were divided. I wouldn't say it was a 50-50 split, Wayne, but it was maybe 25-75 or, 15-85, in favor of trading away Darnold and going with Zach Wilson, the BYU kid. Where did you land on that whole scenario?
Well, people are always going to wonder, could they have done it with Sam? I don't know. They're certainly doing a lot more as far as surrounding Zach with parts, like offensive weapons and offensive line. So he's definitely coming into a better situation than Sam had. Sam was kind of up against it from the start. And it's tough for a young kid. He's really young to come in and, have to deal with all that and deal with the media and everything. I don't think he really was given a chance. I don't question whether they should have kept him or not. And I tell people, I don't know how you feel about it, but this is a good thing that we have Zach. I wish Sam the best, except for the first game of the year when they're playing the Jets.
Yeah, how about that?
This kid is special. You couldn't pass on Zach Wilson.
Yeah, how about
you had
that?
To get that new, it's their quarterback. It's this regime's, it's their guy. Sam wasn't their guy. So, they're going to live and die with him.
How about that? The NFL, the tricky NFL scheduling Carolina and the Jets in week 1. Yeah, you're right. Darnold was up against it. Off the field, he was the truest pro. Like he was Derek Jeter, like in the way he handled himself off the field. Right. I mean, you were really good in that regard too. He knew what he was doing. And from all regards, Zach Wilson is kind of similar. A lot of people didn't know how he would handle New York, and it's still early, obviously. One of the early quotes that I noticed was Wilson was pleasantly surprised that this was kind of not city life, quote unquote. Northern Jersey, I don't think he quite knew what to expect. Florham Park, Morristown, New Jersey to be like. So he was pleasantly surprised about that. But I think he he's handling it well. And there's no better place. I mean, with Douglas, with the organization, the hierarchy lined up the way it is, there's no better place to win, right?
Yeah. He's in Florham Park right now. He isn't. The season hasn't started, and he's in glitz and glamour in New York City. But it's you see how he reacts going from Provo to the media capital of the world. He's handling it great right now. He's saying all the right things. He's spending extra time out there with the linemen and the receivers. But like I said, they saw enough in him to make him that big second round pick, the second pick in the draft. And I believe in this kid. I mean, you can't just tell by a workout, but I saw enough of game film on him that I think he might be the answer. But you can't just plug one guy in and that be it. That's why I said they're doing a great job surrounding him with talent. I mean, like I said, it wasn't household names with Cole, and then bringing in Elijah Moore, Corey Davis. These guys are talented. I mean, he's got some weapons right now. So, if he could just get on the same page with them, they're going to come out firing. It's not going to take very long to show what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, and the trade up for Elijah Vera Tucker, if you think about it, Douglas has drafted 2 first-round offensive linemen in 2 drafts, which equals the last 14 years combined.
Yeah, he was a top 10 talent. I mean,
yeah.
They trade from 23 to 14 to get him?
Yes.
I mean, he could play anywhere on the line. I mean, between him and Becton, they got a nice young solid foundation there.
Yeah, that left side is killer. And they traded 23 and their 2/3 to jump up to 14. All the analytic guys are calling it a loss for the Jets, but you can't go purely based on analytics. Right. I like analytics as a tool, but it's got to be analytics and experience, the football experience combined to get to that end result. So I it surprised me. I'll be honest. It surprised me. I didn't think Douglas would trade up, but I love the move. 3rd round, obviously no 3rd round. 2nd round, it was Elijah Moore. And that was another surprising one because when you looked at the roster as a whole, receiver didn't look like a pressing need. Yeah, they needed a receiver, but it wasn't pressing. I never thought it was complete. With Corey Davis, who I love, Mims, who I love, Jamison Crowder, who I love, they were still missing that guy who could threaten the edge. Like if you watch KC and over the last decade, how I kind of look at it like this, the Wildcat surprised everyone and just burst onto the scene, which led into the read option, a lot of zone read with quarterbacks. People started realizing the quarterback wouldn't get killed on the edge because the league's gotten softer. Suddenly jet sweeps come and start infiltrating the league, and the NFL has become more college-like. So you need that playmaker, that weapon who could threaten the edge. Crowder, as good as he is in the slot, running routes in between the ears, he's just not that guy. So Elijah Moore does that and more. The guy does everything. What do you think about Zach Wilson's new slot guy?
I think he's explosive, like a Tyreek Hill kind of guy. And I didn't know much about him. I follow college sports, college football, and I'd seen him, but to go back and look at some film and see some of his highlights, I mean, this kid's got crazy talent. I know I saw, in the draft room, how excited they were when he fell to them. And I know, my Crowder might be the odd man out. I was a big fan of his, but like you said, these are young guys, that I just want to play and just, want to make a name for themselves. Like I said, Corey and Keelan coming in and add this kid in there. I know, it's great. He's a defensive coach, Salah, but he comes in and he goes quarterback, lineman, receiver, running back with Carter. And then he went defense, linebackers, cornerback, linebacker, quarterback. I mean, he did what he needed to do with Zach, and then he filled in the spots that he need on defense.
Yeah, I mean, how about you said you saw the reaction in the war room with Douglas. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I was ready to run through a wall with the way Douglas reacted. That's the most emotion I've seen out of Douglas so far. I mean, geez.
Statistically though, this kid's off the charts.
Yeah,
for what he did. So I'm excited to see him out there. Like you said, I'd hate for Crowder to be the odd man out, but he's a good player. He'll land on his feet somewhere.
It's interesting. I mean, they'll save a decent chunk of money with Crowder, but injuries happen, and especially at this group for the Jets the last few years. Sidebar, one of the more underrated things they've done, which I love, is that new injury prevention program. I think that's stuff like that for a football culture, a football program is huge. But hey, injuries happen. I don't know what they're going to do with Crowder. If they keep him, hey, that works. If they don't, I completely understand. But Moore, he's going to play slot. He's gonna return kicks. He could even take a handoff or two. And yeah, fourth round was Carter, as you mentioned, 2 Michael Carters, which is interesting. A nice little twist. I guess it's MC1 and MC squared or MC2.
Yeah.
If I'm Michael Carter, the DB, I'm patenting the MC squared nickname right away.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous one. And then the rest of the way, defensive players. And what I took, my major takeaway was this league is different. You know, converting these 2 safeties, Sherwood and the kid from Florida State, who I'll call Ham because I'm still having trouble pronouncing his last name. That's his nickname, Ham. Competing for that will spot, probably with Blake Cashman. They want a defense that, yes, you need to play nickel in this 11 personnel world, but you need a defense that doesn't have to be forced to play nickel. And Saleh did that a lot in San Fran. So with Joyner at safety, who could cover the slot, and Ham and Sherwood at will, you could play a zone against 11 personnel. But I love the draft overall. What are your thoughts on the Carter and the rest of the way?
Yeah. Those guys, like I said, could come down and play in the box.
Right.
Another thing is these guys from great programs, fiery kind of guys, speed, toughness. So, this is going to improve their special teams as well. And obviously Elijah, returning punts and kickoffs maybe. But the Carter kid, the running back from North Carolina, he's very good. I think he's underrated because of the other running back they had there, Williams.
Yeah.
So he might be sneaky, but, as they ran with San Fran, they had, 4 or 5 running backs at different points of the season that were out there, in that offense in the zone read going for 100 yards in a game, and they brought Tevin Coleman, one of the guys from over there. So they can't have enough running backs on that team. Certainly he's one that's going to contribute.
Yeah, LaMichael Perrine, kid from last year, he as soon as the draft was over, he put out a tweet, something to the effect of, "I love it when people sleep on me." Something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's tough because he came and he did pretty well, and then they come in and bring in a whole bunch of new running backs. You can't help but get offended, but it's just competition, and competition's great for a team.
Absolutely, especially on the offensive line, but everywhere.
Yeah.
And like you said, that point you said is perfect. Special teams. I mean, I know the kickoff is going away and it's not as important anymore, and the percentage is low. They still have to fix the onside kick rule because these teams having no chance at the end of the games when they can't recover onside kicks. They got to fix that. But I understand the safety issues, but still, special teams is critical. And if you're deep, you're going to have a better special teams.
Right.
This week, OTAs, great sign. We talked about the new atmosphere and the new coaching staff and regime. Great sign that I think it was Kim Jones reported that over 80 players were at the facility this week. I mean, if you're a Jet fan right now, you got to be doing cartwheels because that is an incredible thing. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, you look around the league and there's guys who they're making a point and fighting not to have to show up, whether it be for COVID reasons or whatever else, else is going on. So for 80 guys to show up, that'll show you the connection that Coach Saleh has made with his team already and with his leaders, to get these young guys and all these guys to come in and start early. So they're going to have a leg up on these teams that, aren't there. And, people are choose to work out at home, and then I see guys are getting hurt at home and they're voiding their contracts. So, they did not have to worry about that situation in New York is great. But I mean, they really didn't have mini camp last year. So to have the rookie camp and now have the vets there, they're way ahead of the game compared to other teams that have, a low turnout compared to the team.
Absolutely. And on Instagram, just maybe an hour ago, Zach Wilson or one of his teammates, it might have been Brandon Eccles, one of the new DBs, went live on Instagram, and it showed. I saw a couple screenshots. It showed them all hanging out on a patio somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's good. They're getting acclimated with each other. Elijah Moore and Zach Wilson also went to a restaurant with Zach Wilson's dad a couple weeks ago in Morristown, I believe, or the Morristown area. So, going back to Zach Wilson, everything in terms of leadership, in terms of the feel good vibes, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, camaraderie. That's the biggest thing on the team. Spending time with each other, not only knowing each other on the field, but knowing each other off the field. You kind of get that brotherhood feel to it.
Right.
And then when you're in there and the tough days of training camp and everything going on, you kind of look to each other and you lift each other up. And it starts now. It starts when you first get there. Like I said, the fact that they're all there, they're going to have that. The fact that they could spend extra time on and off the field, man, it's a great thing, especially for these young guys coming in.
And, I look at all sports different. Like the NBA is a talent league, right? It's just, you got to have that superstar. NFL, it's a value league. It's a, as you said, a teamwork league, a not 53, 90-man league. And I looked at it this way too. Football is the one sport where the nature of the sport, 16 games, now 17 games, that's going to get weird, by the way, trying to predicting a record instead of saying 10-6, going 10-7. But football, I feel like, let me know if I'm on track here. I feel like football is the sport where you could really outplay your talent or underplay your talent. And it based on momentum and locker room feel, especially early in the season. Is that true? Where you could really get a great start and overplay your talent more so than other sports?
Yeah. NFL, it's a system league. I mean, look at the Patriots all these years. They got guys you never even heard of. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th guys in the depth chart that fill in and they fit the system. Like you said, in the NBA, it's superstars. So you can get away with that a little more in the NFL. It's depth, you know what I mean? Having the guys, 40 through 53 in their roster that could do multiple things. Things happen during the season. It happens all the time. And, guys, the teams are shot. They don't have enough guys in there to back them up. And it's a good mix of young and old. But the NFL is a system league that you could just plug in different guys and you don't miss a beat. And I think that's what Coach Sal is working on right now and Joe Douglas with the amount of guys they brought in. Like a young and old, new system, new coaching staff, and they're going to grow together.
Yeah, Douglas, he searches for those high character guys, right?
Yeah, great locker room guys. I mean, you can't put a price tag on that. I mean, just last year having guys like Frank Gore in there, guys like that, guys like Jamison Crowder. Those guys. You can't, like I said, it's priceless. The experience they can give to these young kids and make them comfortable. In the new surroundings, and that's part of the team that you need.
How do you feel about Richard Sherman? Because you're going to overpay him if he were to come to the Jets. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, but I like, to your point, him in that room for those DBs, for Salah's system, a lot of cover 4, a lot of cover 3, bail, tall corners who want to attack the ball at the high point. I think that would be invaluable to grab Sherman.
Yeah, and he fits right into the system. He's been in the system. He knows Coach Salah. And, like you said, I got to the point in my career, towards the end of my career when they were bringing in young guys like Jericho Cotchery and, guys like that who were going to be my replacement at some point. And I was all for spending extra time with him, give him the little, tips I used over my career to succeed. And Sherman's the kind of guy like that. He's not going to be like, I don't want to help these young guys. He's going to take my spot. He's the guy that's going to come in. He knows he's got his spot. He knows he's a future Pro Bowl, maybe a future Hall of Fame kind of guy. And he's going to, take advantage of these young guys and, wanting to learn. And I think he'd be a terrific fit on this team this year.
Yeah, Cotchery, there's another fan favorite. I mean, when the Jets lost him during that Rex Ryan era, that was such a huge, under the radar impact. It was huge to that team. I mean, maybe the performance, the production didn't match up to warrant keeping him, but it's not just about the stats. It's never just about the production. And he came out of nowhere in 2006. So whatever you did with him those first 2 years, that was a pretty solid job, Wayne.
Yeah, he's a good kid. And like you said, he was just full of questions. Why did you run this way? What did you see from the defense? And I loved that. I loved what, I was had Santana come in and I had Lavernius came in. Those guys were just like sponges. They absorbed everything I had to say. And when you have that, create that competition, it only makes you better. So, I mean, and it's your duty, as a senior, in the league to take care of these young guys and take them under your wing. And he's certainly one that, I'm very proud of how he succeeded in the NFL.
Yeah, Lavernius. We'll be talking a lot about him as we go along in this podcast for sure.
There'll be lots of Lavernius stories.
Lots of Lavernius stories and other stories for sure.
Yeah.
And you guys, I mean, Jets fans, you can't miss that. I'm telling you. But yeah, Kachary, that was huge. It's a character thing, and the other aspect of Douglas and how he builds teams is value. It's character. It's fans. Fans roll their eyes every time they hear the word culture, but it's so critical. And Douglas, when he first came, this is why I thought he was legit from the get-go. Everyone has good things to say about him. He said the right thing right off the bat. He didn't shy away from it. He said it starts with the quarterback in both lines. He didn't say best available player, talented player. He started from the root, the quarterback in both lines and culture. And the fact that he said those things on day one was such an encouraging sign to me.
Right. Yeah. He pegged it. That's exactly what it is. And like he said, he's got a good mix of young and old right now. I'm so excited what they in the front seven they have right now on the defense line with the young guys they got and the vets they brought in. They're taking control of that. A lot of teams, like I said, wanted to go out there, and sign the big names. But the guys he's brought in, I think as talented as you can get for the value that he got them for. You know what I mean? It's not, money's not all tied up in one or two guys. I mean, he spread it around, and I think that's why they're so going to succeed.
Yeah, and the other trend is he signed guys that were young, 26, right off their fourth year, their fourth year in the rookie deal. Guys who didn't quite meet. They're good, they're talented, they're good guys, they're good locker room guys, but they didn't quite meet the expectation. Like Corey Davis, 5th overall pick for Tennessee. Right. He produced, especially in year 4, but he didn't meet that expectation. Right. Jared Davis, Detroit, another first-round pick, didn't meet expectations. He's hoping the best is yet to come with those guys. So that's where the value comes in, on top of the culture, on top of the character-driven stuff.
Yeah, with the kid from Detroit, I mean, this kid could play. Yeah, I mean, he's a high pick. He's very talented, and he'll fit into that system. And people are going to be surprised, like, whoa, where did this guy come from? You know what I mean? How's this guy didn't succeed in Detroit, but he's, outstanding player for the Jets. I mean, that's the kind of guys they've found. And that's why I'm so excited to see what else they're going to do this year. What other moves, going to be made during, preseason when the cuts are made and stuff like that. They're putting a great team together. I'm so excited to be able to go back to the games and root for them. And I'm sure a lot of fans are as well.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, with that 4-man pass rush that looks scary right now with Curry and Lawson and Q and Rankins, they're 7-8 deep. And you got
Curry in there, right? You said,
they're 7 and 8 deep. You got to rotate up front. And I mean, if that's clicking on all cylinders, I know they're light at linebacker. I know they're light at corner, but he picked the right positions to load up on. Yeah. Because it's playing the percentages, the 4-man rush, the D line, 4-3, which is something we could talk about too, maybe a little bit, but O-line, D-line, it helps everything behind it rather than it's not the same the other way around.
Yeah. It seems like, you get these 4 guys line up against us in previous years and they're getting to our quarterback. Like, how is this happening when we're calling on to do blitzes and stunts to get to the quarterback? If you have 4 guys up front that could just put that kind of pressure, like Lawson could wreak havoc back there. I mean, you could play any kind of coverage behind it if you could do it with 4 guys. And that's why I'm excited about Salah, and, you could see how he is with his players in San Fran, how he gets excited. He's very motivational. He's very emotional. And you just, with the talent that he has there, and the culture, like you said, culture he's creating there with the young and the old, they're going to have one of the top defenses in the league, I believe.
Yeah, he's so pumped on a regular basis. He needs a guy to hold him back. What's it called?
The get back guy.
Yeah, the get back guy. Yeah. One of our writers at JetX, Joe Blewett, wants to be that get back guy, but I don't think they're going to hire him, to be honest.
No.
They need a Sorry, Joe, but they need Salah's pretty, I'm not saying you're weak, but they need a stronger guy, I'm going to say.
It's not a great job being the get back guy, because basically you got a coach who's in the moment, excited, and you got to kind of like be Debbie Downer and keep pulling them back and keep pulling them back. But that's the kind of guy you want. You want that kind of fire, leading your team.
Yeah, it's harkens back a little to Herm Edwards. Herm was different. He picked his spots, it felt like. But yeah, it kind of harkens back to him if you're thinking of Jets history. Rex Ryan, of course, too. And Rex Ryan, as much as he got after the quarterback, like you said, it was a lot of elaborate blitzes. You never had that conventional rush that he could just say, all right, go for it.
Right. Yeah, it's different, completely different game these days now. All the creative defenses they come up with. But like I said, these guys are going to get there. These guys are going to get there. I know they will. I've seen them do it in the past, and I've seen Salah and how he takes talent and kicks it up a notch. And they got the right guys in there. And like I said, I haven't met Coach Salah yet, but I've seen enough, footage of him in interviews and stuff like that to know that he's the right guy for the job to lead this organization.
Yeah, the first day of rookie minicamp, he was right there in the thick of things when everyone was stretching, greeting players, rah-rahing it up, the whole coaching staff. He even came over to the media, Cimini and Costello, and introduced himself right away to those guys. So he engages. He's not afraid to engage.
He makes you feel like you belong. Makes you feel like you're part of it. Even like, besides the players and the coaches, everybody involved. And that's what you want.
Right.
You want to be a part of the community. And be the support for them. And I haven't always had that. We didn't always have that when I was there. Like you mentioned Herm Edwards, and he was a big guy that believed in that, having the family around, have the family come around, friends come around, and just having that family atmosphere, family barbecues. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you could do that, and it just adds so much more to the experience of being in the NFL. Like in the beginning of my career, it was like, you left the complex and it was nothing. There was no relationships. There was no connection. And the fact that they're bringing, like you said, a culture, they're bringing that to the organization, it definitely is going to help them be successful.
Yeah. And I think another underrated thing is the ownership is doing a great job in terms of, some people don't think it's a big deal. I kind of think it's a bigger deal the way they set up the hierarchy, where previously the coach and the GM would report to the owner. I kind of like a hierarchy in football where the GM oversees everything, and then the coach obviously oversees his staff. 2 years ago when they hired Gase, there were reports out there, I don't know if they're true or not, that, Greg Williams was pushed onto the next head coach. Matt Rule had a lot to say about that. Week one opponent, obviously. But I love what Christopher and Woody have been doing.
Yeah. Listen, I'll never let anybody badmouth those guys to me. I know, a lot of times, I'm on social media, I see what people say, but Woody took care of me. Woody's a great owner, and Christopher did a great job, when Woody was away. I love Christopher. We've had some great conversations over the past couple of years on his vision for the team, his family's vision for the team, and where they want to go. And they've taken every step in the last 2 years, I think, of what they've done to bring that to the organization, bring that to the fans.
Yeah, and it's New York. I mean, the owner's always going to get it left and right. I'm sure they know that. But has some of it been unfair? Absolutely. Has some of the media stuff been unfair with the Jets organization? Absolutely. But you have to understand the game. The media, they're looking for attention. They're looking for traffic. The most rabid fan bases, the most starving fan bases, the best fan bases are usually the target, because whether it's positive or negative, you'll get the most attention if you produce a story. So you gotta always take that in stride and just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah. Listen, like you said, New York is starved. Jet fans are starved for a championship or a deep playoff run or some kind of success year, compared to what it was last year. I tell people, 2 wins last year. No way did I see that coming, but it happened. Onto the new. But like I said, Woody and Christopher are doing everything they can do. Like I said, they took care of me when I was there, and they have a vision that they're going to bring a Super Bowl to New York. Like I said, they get a lot of criticism, but bottom line is I would not want to play for anybody else as a player.
And they care too. They like, you could see, they care. I mean, you see it. So yeah, everything's looking good. Week 1 should be fun, that's for sure. Good thing about the schedule, I guess we'll close it out talking about the schedule real quick before we go on to episode 2, where we dig into some of the old stuff with Wayne. The schedule, how do you feel about the 17-week schedule? I remember when I was a kid, there was still 16 games, but at a couple seasons there was 2 buys, not just one. I'm surprised they haven't gone to 2 buys with the 17-week schedule.
Yeah, it's tough. People say, oh, it's just one more game, but it's, 17 games is a lot, and one less preseason game, which affects guys like myself, the lower draft pick guys, the undrafted guys, having that one last chance to showcase yourself in that 4th preseason game. And obviously for the starting O&D, they basically don't play in the last game. So now they're not going to play in the third game. I mean, usually defenses are ahead of offenses, at the beginning of the year. But they need that preseason, the offenses, to kind of get in stride. So I don't know, 17, 16 games wouldn't affect me, but for some reason, a lot of people are hating on the idea of playing an extra game. But hey, play ball, man. It is what it is.
That's why you're the most beloved Jet in history, my friend, right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. 17 weeks. I would like to see the second bye, but I'm with you 100%. I love preseason. Even as a football fan, they need preseason. I thought it was rough last year not having preseason. I understand why they didn't do it, obviously, during the most unique 2020 year. This year, back to preseason, 3 preseason games, I believe it is. And again, your career, we'll talk about this moving forward, but your career is much different if there's no preseason. So that's an interesting thing. And a lot of kids deserve that shot.
Yeah, we'll get into that, how my career started and,
Yep.
Evolution of the preseason with me going from, not playing the first game to essentially starting it's just crazy how things happen. But like you said, it's a very big disadvantage last year for guys who didn't get a chance to show what they can do. And guys, like I said, that are great in shorts and T-shirts. But when you put the pads on, things change.
Much
And,
different.
that's what preseason's all about.
Yeah, when I put the pads on, I was much slower than my normal slower self, to be honest. Yeah.
Sometimes that happens to people. You'd be surprised how effective people are when they put the pads on, both physically and mentally.
Yeah. And how about this? Are you a little bit jealous at all about I figure most football players are, about the new age technology today, the helmets and the pads. It's just everything's so much, even the gloves. Have you felt the gloves today compared to back in the 90s?
Yeah, I didn't really wear the gloves
That's true.
when it got cold out, but like my son's a receiver in high school. Those gloves, and my my 9-year-old wears the gloves. I mean, he can catch with one hand. I mean, these things are so sticky.
They're ridiculous.
They're so sticky, but that's part of technology. The helmets are, safer, but bottom line is, it's a violent game, and every advantage you can get, whether it's the gloves, the helmet, or lighter pads, or whatever it is, you have to take advantage of it.
And once we get to Parcells later, I'm gonna have to ask you about the sleeves and the gloves, because I remember one point where I think he wanted you to wear sleeves and gloves, but we'll talk about that for another day.
Gotcha.
All right, Jets fans, episode 1 of the Underdog Jets podcast is in the books. Wayne, final thoughts?
No, great first podcast, first of many. Hope people keep tuning in. Like you said, the second part will be more of my career, how it started and progressed, over 11 years. So looking forward to diving into that and reminiscing a little bit, and maybe bringing some of my former teammates on. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you in the next episode.